to Shara Me with Books. My name is Edshara, and today I am going to be sharing the books that I read towards the end of February. Now, this is the second time that I'm filming this video, hence the thumbnail, and I have already had to return the books that I borrowed back to the library. So I'll just insert pictures right about here. And I have 5 books to talk about today. The first being Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kahn. And this one follows Alice, who is a biromantic asexual, and she's coming to terms with her asexuality after a breakup. Now, I can't comment specifically on the ace rep or the bi rep just because I don't have any personal experience, but I will say that some of Alice's thoughts and feelings, as well as perhaps her inner turmoil, seemed relatable just because I feel like some of us, or most of us, have been there at some point to some extent in our lives where we've had to kind of evaluate who we are. And so I thought that was realistic. I also enjoyed the writing style. I thought the plot was well developed and the book flowed nicely. However, there were quite a few things that I didn't like. The first being Alice's parents. They were a bit overbearing and they kind of wanted Alice to follow the path that they set for her. They didn't really support her individuality, and when she spoke up for herself and let them know that she wanted to go a different way, they were not supportive, and I didn't like their reaction. And then later in the book, when there was a bit of a resolution, I didn't particularly care for that either. So that was disappointing. Then Alice's older sister is nothing short of a bully. I didn't like her at all. I cringed every time she showed up on the page. I felt like she fit the stereotype of angry black woman, and I was very disappointed to see that in this book. And then the last thing I didn't like was Alice and 2 of her friends have had literally been friends for their entire lives, and they were willing to allow their friendship to kind of dissolve, all because they didn't want to communicate. And I can't stand lack of communication in books. So I was a little disappointed in that because that just didn't sit well with me. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars. And the next book is A Matter of Souls by Denise Lewis Patrick. And this was one that was a reread for me. I read it the first time last year, gave it 5 stars, and I still really enjoyed it. I didn't change my rating. I did, however, go through and rate each story individually, and if I remember correctly, I don't think any of them were lower than 3 stars. I had so much fun kind of going through and tabbing up my copy for the first time, and I found that I was enjoying the same things that I enjoyed the first time around, and I really had fun revisiting this one. The next book is The Bells by Danielle Clayton, and this one was probably my favorite of the month. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I loved it so much. The writing was very descriptive, and it made for a very vivid reading experience. You were immediately immersed in this world. You were immediately kind of just caught up in the world of the Bells, and it was so fun to read. It was so fun to read, and the fact that the main character is a black woman, oh, I loved it so much. I will say that this book is a lot deeper, and it's a lot more complex than perhaps the synopsis will let on, and I think that everyone should go into it with an open mind, with an understanding that you'll get from this book what you choose to see. Nobody is safe in this book. This is a world that those that are stronger, those that are empowered, they dominate, and they don't necessarily choose just one thing to discriminate, if that makes sense. So I would highly recommend this book. The next book is This Will Be My Undoing, Living at the Intersection of Black, Female, and Feminist in White America by Morgan Jerkins. And this was one that I wanted to read, but I wasn't sure if my library was going to have it because they seemed to add it to the catalog pretty late. So I didn't even mention it in my library haul for the month, but it did become available. And so I ended up reading it, and I've got to say I enjoyed it, but I'm a bit conflicted on how I feel about it. There were some parts of the book where I was very like, yes, I know that, I understand that, I relate to that. And then there are other parts of the book where I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And I think I would have liked to have had more time with the book. We do get 21 days here when we check out books, but I didn't start the book immediately when I checked it out, and I kind of wish that I had. This book has essays, and the essays are long, even though they have a lot of breaks within them. I wish that I could have read, you know, a chunk of the essay and then kind of dissected it and thought about it and annotated, and then, you know, went on to the next. So before I even attempted to write my Goodreads review, which wasn't really a review, guys, it was kind of a mess, I read other people's reviews, and I found that there were some 5-star reviews that I agreed with, and then there were some 2-star and 1-star reviews that I agreed with. So I was very conflicted. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars. So I definitely perhaps want to buy this in the future and maybe go at it, but at a slower pace, and be able to better evaluate what it is I like and what it is I don't like about the book. But I'd say if it interests you, you know, maybe read it for yourself, see what you think, because I do think that a lot of what she said was very important and very relevant. And then what's the last one? The last book that I have is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, and this is a classic that I had not read, and so I really wanted to read it because the movie's coming out, and I ended up enjoying it. It was okay. I only gave it 3 stars just because there were some things I didn't like. I started off this book really gung-ho, really into it, and then I think around the middle of the book I got a little bored. But I did think that the plot and, you know, kind of everything with the time travel, it was easy to follow. It was pretty simple. I didn't find that it went over my head at all. But I feel like some of the characters, like Meg, she was too whiny for my taste. And I wanted her to kind of get it. A lot sooner than she got it, and it was like she finally understood and got it. But it was like the book was almost over, and it was like, seriously. Then there was Calvin, and I liked Calvin, but I don't really know what his purpose was. I kind of felt like he was a filler character, because some of the things that he did were okay, but at the same time I felt like Meg and Charles Wallace could have done everything on their own. So I didn't really see the point of him in the book. And then Charles Wallace was adorable. He was probably my favorite character. I loved him. I thought he was super cute. I wanted to like squish him. He was so adorable. And he still had his issues, but he's a baby, so he kind of gets a pass. I really did enjoy the mix of faith and science within this book. That's something you don't always see. A lot of the times people keep faith and science separate, and I really enjoyed the fact that you kind of needed both of them in order for this all to work. So I appreciated that, and I'm really interested to see if and how that is incorporated into the movie and how close the movie sticks to the book. I can say that I'm probably not all that interested in continuing the series. I don't really know that there's any more that I want to know or learn about this world or these characters. But I can understand why it's a classic and why some people love it. It just wasn't that great for me. But I am still very interested in seeing the movie. I can't wait for it. And those are all of the books that I read. Well, technically that's not true. Those aren't all the books that I read. But every once in a while I like to read a book and just kind of read it just for fun. So I don't usually share it on my channel. But I do share it over on Goodreads. So if you're wondering if there are books that I'm reading that I'm not sharing, they're on Goodreads. And it's not because I'm embarrassed by those books. It's just that I think it keeps reading fun by having books that I kind of read and in some ways keep to myself a little bit. But I'm going to quit rambling and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thank you to my new subscribers. Hi, hello. Introduce yourself in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, guys, God bless. Bye.